Ever wonder how no contact affects a woman after a breakup? After all, women dump guys about 75, maybe even 80% of the time. That means most of the time, women are in control of ending a relationship, and the guy is left scrambling to figure out what the hell just happened. And then usually after a period of, going crazy, a guy reads about no contact and begins to implement it with the woman that he was in a relationship with. But what do women think when they're on the receiving end of no contact? Let's talk about it. I also want to point out that how a woman responds to receiving no contact has a lot to do with her attachment style. I talk about attachment styles in a lot of my videos, but let me break them down for you very quickly. There is secure attachment, where you don't need anyone else's approval or validation to feel good about yourself. That's ideally where we all want to be. Then there's anxious attachment, which is what I tend to gravitate towards. And that's where you have a fear of abandonment from some childhood trauma, and you desperately don't want to be left in a relationship, so you tend to cling too tightly. And that does often push people away, especially women with the avoidant attachment style, which is what we're going to talk about next. Ironically, the avoidant attachment style also has its roots in childhood trauma and a fear of abandonment. However, these people learned at a young age that the best way to keep themselves emotionally safe is to keep everyone at arm's length and never let anybody in and never be vulnerable with anyone. And if you are the guy and you got dumped by a woman with an avoidant attachment style and you are now going no contact with her, guess what? She's probably feeling elated. She's probably relishing her time alone, away from you and away from your potentially smothering behavior. And that's why with women with an avoidant attachment style, it can take twice as long for them to come around full circle and be ready to try again with you in a relationship after it didn't work once before. But the good news is, for guys who got dumped, if the woman has either a secure attachment style or an anxious one, it's not really going to take that long of being in no contact before she begins to miss you and before she begins to be ready to circle back around to you. And that's even more true with the anxious attachment style. So I mentioned that women with an avoidant attachment style will be relishing their time alone and their time away from the guy. But the other women, the women with secure or anxious attachment, will actually be feeling feelings of loss and hurt and pain. They're going to be feeling those emotions on a deep, deep level. That doesn't necessarily mean they're ready to be contacted and ready to start to reconcile, but they are going to be feeling those feelings very acutely. But I also want to add that oftentimes women fall out of love slowly over a period of time. They don't often talk about it with their partners. They just notice that their feelings are gradually beginning to diminish. And then when their feelings of love are almost gone, or maybe even completely gone, they end the relationship, often coming as a complete surprise to the guy. And because of that, the women don't tend to stay in the kind of hurt, lonely, sad, depressed stage for very long. They often move on quickly to someone new. And to the guy on the receiving end, it can seem like it's extremely quickly. So while for a guy who got dumped, it can take weeks or months before they begin to think about seeing somebody new, oftentimes with a woman who did the breakup, she can move on within a week. And it's because those feelings of love for her ex have been going away for a very long time. Now, all that being said, when you do jump from a relationship into a new one, it is often going to be a rebound. And those have an incredibly high failure rate. About 75% of the time, they do indeed fail within a 3-month period, certainly within a 6-month period. So for that reason, it's actually ideal for the woman to wait a little while before embarking on a new relationship, even if their feelings of love for their ex had been diminishing over a long period of time. It's really good and really healthy to go a little bit of time in between relationships where you're not seeing anyone and you're not dating anyone, you're not thinking about anything other than your own healing journey and kind of a self-discovery. Oftentimes, when we come out of a long-term relationship, we realize that maybe we put some of our own personal needs on hold for the sake of the other or for the sake of the relationship. And that's okay, that's totally normal. But it's nice to kind of rediscover those things when you do indeed find yourself single again. So take a little bit of time, ladies. Don't jump right from one person to another, even if your feelings of love for your ex had been going away for a long time. And if you are in the situation where you are on the receiving end of no contact, use this time to focus on yourself and to be the best version of you that you can be. Whether or not you decide you want to try and reconcile with your ex who's doing no contact, that's kind of irrelevant. Either way, you're going to end up being the best version of you that you can be, and that's great. That's either going to be great for your relationship with that person if you go back to them, or with the next great love of your life when you find them. The other thing that no contact, if you're on the receiving end, allows you to do is to really focus on resilience and your inner strength. Because a lot of the time, especially women with the either anxious attachment style or the avoidant one, a lot of the time they have a lot of childhood trauma and baggage they're trying to work through. And sometimes that means that they need a lot of attention and validation. And that's the reason that they don't tend to stay single for very long. But guess what? That's not really healthy in the long run. Learning how to get by and to feel good about yourself without any external validation or approval is a really good thing. And no contact from the guy that you were in a relationship with is a great way to focus on yourself and to focus on your own healing and not need anyone else's approval to feel good about yourself. And then guess what? Whether you get back in a relationship with that guy or somebody new, you're going to be a much better person if you don't need another person's approval to feel good about yourself. So what have you learned from either being in the no contact on the receiving end or the giving end? What have you learned about it, and how has it helped you with your relationships, either to get an ex back, to reconcile, or to find someone new? How has it helped you? Let me know in the comments. But for now, I'll see you in the next video.